flippity flop. What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the possibility of another arcade racer by Arcade1Up. Now, in recent months, the Sega Outrun cabinet was released by Arcade1Up, and although I love the game, it's a great game, it's a classic. It wasn't personally one of my favorite arcade racers from back in the day, from like the late 80s and early 90s. That wasn't like a racer that I would consider, one of my favorites. So that's why kind of why I passed on it, because I have like limited space in my game room, and I have to be really selective when it comes to these Arcade1Ups, and I already have 3. So I'm going to be passing on the Outrun cabinet, but looking forward to the future, hoping that we'll see more arcade racers by Arcade1Up, and I think we will. Now that we've seen established relationships with Sega by Arcade1Up and Midway, those two powerhouses in the 90s put out a shitload of great arcade racing games. Sega put out Daytona, and Midway put out tons of them. And that's what we're going to be talking about briefly in this video, Midway racers. Now, in the mid-90s, Cruisin USA was very popular, and that evolved to the sequel, Cruisin World, which was like one of my favorites of all time, especially going back to the mid-90s. And Cruisin World, I feel like there's a good possibility we can see a Cruisin World cabinet, along with a collection of Midway racers from that mid-90s time period. I mean, we've already seen a bunch of cabinets released by Midway, so I don't see why in the future we won't see more future games from Midway, licensed games by Midway being released by Arcade1Up.
Cruisin' the world, yeah!
And Cruisin World was a real popular one. It was released in arcades in 1996. It was very common to see this arcade, cabinet all over the country. You'd see it linked up in pairs of 2 or up to 4 machines. I don't remember ever seeing any more than like 4 or 5 machines linked up. These were very popular in movie theaters and arcades, around the country. The controls were excellent. The steering wheel had amazing feedback. Even like the steering wheel vibrated, and if you impacted another car or you went off the side of the road, you'd feel it in the steering wheel. Excellent game. And the Nintendo 64 got the home arcade release of this game exclusively to the Nintendo 64. So not a lot of people got to experience this at home because the Nintendo 64 wasn't as popular as, say the PlayStation. So I feel like this would be a great, arcade game to bring to Arcade1Up. Arcade1Up always usually, puts a bunch of games, in each cabinet. So you usually get like anywhere from like 4 to like 12 games now. So I'm trying to think of what type of games you can include in this arcade machine. And I was thinking, of course, you include both versions of Cruisin USA and Cruisin World. And I was also thinking another good franchise by Midway was Rush, San Francisco Rush. Now, San Francisco Rush, there was several versions of Rush. I remember the San Francisco Rush, and you had San Francisco, the Alcatraz edition, and I think there was also a Rush the Rock, and these were great games. These were great racing games that pushed the limits back in the mid-90s. These were phenomenal. Precision control. You had the arcade feel. So with the 2 versions of Cruisin USA and Cruisin World, 3 versions of San Francisco Rush, what else could we throw in this cabinet? And I was thinking Offroad Thunder. That's another option. I loved Offroad Thunder, and that was like one of the last of the racing games that I remember experiencing in the arcades. Because like by the late 90s, man, you know, arcades were taking a back seat to, you know, PC and console gaming was catching up to arcade technology, you know. So yeah, but Offroad Thunder was another great game.
Offroad Thunder!
It was an off-road racing game that was released, I think it was like in 1999. And there was also, it was like a series of games, the Thunder series. You had Hydro Thunder, you had the Four-Wheel Thunder, you had Arctic Thunder. These are great pick up and play arcade racers. You had several modes, like demolition mode, where you'd run to other cars without getting caught. And if you did, the game would be over. You have your rally racing, where you're just racing around the track, catching canisters of nitros. So friggin' awesome. And then you also have Snag the Flag. Great games. I thought this would be a great idea for an arcade 1-up cabinet, and I figured I just wanted to share this with you guys. Let me know what you think. What would be your #1 arcade racer that you'd like to see Arcade 1-Up make? Let me know in the comment section below. Appreciate you all for watching. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Be part of the Turbo Joe community. I always talk about Arcade 1-Up products, retro gaming, Intellivision Amico. That seems to be the subject of the conversation on this channel for the most part. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day or night wherever you are. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.